Hello, I'm Dr. Wendy Rowley of the Wonder of Human Design YouTube channel, and this is the playlist series, How to Engage with Your Spiritual Guides. So, this episode, I don't know if I have much to say because it's a little beyond me, and it's called Why Does the Creator Allow Suffering? Why does the Creator allow suffering? And that is a big question a lot of people have. And so, we're going to get the perspective from the other side of the veil from Aliania. I did allow her. Some people do high soul channeling and they tell you what the guide is telling them. Some people do allow the guide into their throat that they may channel. I chose to do that because I could not repeat what she said as well in the other system. So, and I was also afraid of putting interpretation on it. And I wanted the information to be pure. So even if I think or feel when I channel, I could influence it, and I try not to do that. So I try to be the purest channel I can for this information. And when you work with beings, spiritual beings on the other side of the veil that are hopefully serving humanity for the greater good of all, I put those intentions up there. Took Aliania around and interviewed her with a bunch of spiritual people to make sure she was of the right kind of a being. I put her through the mill, and because I didn't want to channel, and I didn't really want to go out on the web and do this, but I love the work so much. I know that it changed me, and I believe in that greater good of all, and I believed that it was something that would help people. So here I am. If it's not for you, just move on. So these are going to be a perspective of her camp on the other side of the veil, and her camp built these consciousness grids and worked with a bunch of us in the early evolution of this planet, apparently, to bring forward this system of this planetary system that we live within. And they brought it from their planetary system. Now, this is a very far out thought. And I did not expect on my search for God that it would end up here. And I'm trying to figure out if this just is another level of cities and powers, and I just need to move beyond it. But I also know that there were things that I needed to heal that I couldn't get at. So I loved the idea of healing this pain body on the human consciousness grid for women, because I know that it's there, and I know that we can't get at it. So I feel that this was worth exploring. So here we are. Because only women in a woman's body with the extra connections can heal that woman's pain body. And we happen to be in female bodies in this lifetime, if you can be comfortable with me saying something so far out. So from my perspective, the suffering seemed to be a paradigm that taught us in a way. And some of my thoughts are from reading. Edgar Cayce had said that all experiences that are not positive are meant to drive you to your knees to go to the Creator. So I'm like, okay, so maybe this system that we've been in that's painful and has suffering is so that we eventually attune to the creative source. I don't know, but that's what he said. I'm trying to remember what I read Rudolf Steiner said or anyone else has said, and nothing else is coming to mind. That's the only quote I can think of things that I've read. And from my personal healing journey, I would say that seemed to be true. That I have had my greatest lessons in the pain that I healed in my journey. So let's see what Aliania says, because this might be a very different perspective of suffering than we've ever had. So I'm going to get out of the way, hopefully project my voice better and speak loudly, and here we go. Oh, good day to you, dearest beings of light. I am Aliania of Cosmic Service. I am a Pleiadian Mother of Sound. Peace be with you, and peace be with you. There's another good reason why this one decided to channel that she doesn't mention. There is an energy that can come through someone who channels that is a greater soul force when they don't. And when you speak through your higher self and relay what a guide says, that energy is going through the karmic Akash. And it's different. And the messages that come through that way are a little different. They tend to be a little different. And if you start looking at the differences in websites between those who do and those who don't, you will see what that difference is. And we're not going to bring it up because it sounds like tiered layers, and we don't want to do that because it just depends what people are comfortable with. And it depends on a lot of other factors too. So there's an applied energy that comes through the camera, through her eyes, her voice, and her aura that women can resonate that men can't. And by bringing us into her throat, it allowed an extra soul presence that would not have been there had we not done that. And this was another reason why, deep down secretly, she decided to channel. Because she knew that this could be so. Because she had seen it in several instances, including a man who was invited to ring the peace bell at the UN back in the mid-2000s. And he came to the school she was at in the naturopathic program and spoke. And she was in the fourth row from the stage, and she could feel his presence. And she was like, wow. But she also noticed that there was something else going on there. And what she now knows is that he worked with a higher creational being in his healing. So maybe there is a paradigm where you don't really do anything alone. And that's all we're going to say about that. And as this one is brought forward in other information, healing happens by a variety of energies, forces, and beings that make it happen. Healing at your soul level is worked by angels, archangels, and higher creational beings that all work together to allow the soul's forces to flow through. And this one always suspected that, but she wasn't sure. Because she was just not sure. But now she knows. Okay, so why does the Creator allow suffering? Because in the old paradigm, it was the teacher. It was the teacher. In the new paradigm, it no longer needs to be the teacher, because the teacher will now be the Christ Spirit evolutionary healing force spirit body. And the golden akashas of all of your wisdom, your ancestors' wisdom, you when you were an ancestor's wisdom, your soul's wisdom on the interim Christ grid at the creational level and the golden akash there, and any incarnations your soul ever had that were high, that put information on to the Christ or mastery or soul mastery grid, golden akash. So you can now not just access the earth grid ancestral golden akash. Some people were able to access the actual golden akash ancestral grid, but now you'll be able to access all the golden akashas of the beautiful and benevolent information. And you will be able to feel the benevolence through the Christ healing spirit body of your soul saying, that's the right direction. So if you didn't have a pain paradigm and you didn't evolve into a pleasure, benevolent, Christ consciousness, evolutionary healing force paradigm, in other words, you have this Christ healing spirit body where your healing forces come through, even to the level where I cut myself and there's a scrape and that body heals that, even that level of healing comes through your Christ healing spirit body. And this one has always wondered that. Does the physical body have a slightly different level that it works through, or does it really come through that? And it does. And we wanted her to know that because she's about to have some more experience in that. And that's all we're going to say about that. So the Christ healing spirit body at the Great Shift is upgraded to this benevolent paradigm. And the Lord of Karma will be a benevolent feeling paradigm, no longer the suffering paradigm. But as many people say, if you don't have suffering, you don't have the understanding of the opposite polarity of what is non-suffering. So suffering is part of your feeling nature of your soul, so that you may find your way to correct vibration, correct harmony with yourself, self-love, correct harmony with love of others, correct harmony with working in the groups with others, and eventually correct harmony with working all as one group in a planet, because you evolved to that. You evolved beyond tribes and nations to become one global planetary group consciousness in evolution. Sorry, she has a hair that's tickling her nose. In evolution. So this is part of evolution. But eventually, over millions of years, you don't need the suffering paradigm anymore. But it serves a purpose right now. Exactly what Edgar Cayce said. Because when you suffer enough and you build up pain in your pain body, it's a red sheath underneath your spirit body. You have a pain body, you have a pleasure body. Pain bodies through the higher self, through the karmic akashas. Pleasure body is through the Christ healing spirit body. So polarity will be with you for a very long time because it serves a purpose. God does not allow suffering. Humans create suffering through miscreation to build up pain in the pain body so they may learn. It's a system, and it moves to benevolence, and eventually you don't need it anymore, and you don't have a red pain sheath anymore. You only have a blue Christ healing pleasure body sheath. And if that doesn't activate, that you're supposed to do something, you know it's not the right step. That's evolution. And you're going to get there. So don't believe for a moment that this is a punishing society, or it is a punishing God, or a punishing system, or a punishing lifetime. Think of it as a learning schoolhouse. This one thought up a beautiful phrase, and her spiritual teacher also taught her, that first one she talks about, taught her a phrase. She said, this is happening to me. The spiritual teacher said, this is happening to me because I can handle it. And it's a really interesting thing to say when you are in the middle of your stuff and lit up. Try it. When you are just a mess and things are not going well, or you didn't get what you want, or people aren't cooperating, and your expectation and your picture is not being met, or you're actually having bad things happen to you, or you're actually having a medical diagnosis that's not positive, or you're actually having anything that does not make you feel good, try saying, this is happening to me right now because I can handle it, and see what happens and how you feel. So this one figured out one for aging. It's my turn to be old. Because people are so resistant to aging, particularly in the selling paradigm culture. It's all for the young, the young, the young. Seniors don't even exist. Did you notice that the largest group that was supposed to be on the earth in the United States at this time frame, based on projections back in the 80s, were going to be seniors? And it is a large percentage of the population, but it has been diluted by the well, it depends who you're talking to, 8 to 10 million, 4 to 6 million immigrants that have come over the border over the last 3 to 4 years. But the truth is, there's a lot of elderly people on the earth right now, and in the United States on purpose, because there's a different kind of thing that goes on in your senior years. You are used as a different type of planetary engine of change, and we've spoken about that in some of our other videos. So we're not going to elaborate here. But we want you to have understanding that there is great wisdom in seniors, and there is great wisdom that needs to be utilized from seniors going forward. And people are going to start to realize this. And at the end of this one's lifetime, she's going to see that that paradigm has shifted and that seniors, for their wisdom, are going to be brought back in as counselors in society. And that's needed because there's something that comes through seniors, not only their wisdom and their experience and their life experience, their experience in whatever the reason they're brought into, whatever field they were in or whatever it is. So their experience in their field and their knowledge, their wisdom through experience of being a senior, but they have a third component that they bring in, which is a kind of a feeling of for the greater good of all. And that comes in to seniors. Some reject it, but it's there. And interestingly, this one has read that in gerontology, they do know that seniors start to not want to go into difficult situations. They want to avoid those, and they also want to avoid toxic people. It's because of the impulse from soul that is saying to them, rise up for the greater good of all. Because there's a service here. It's not because they just want to have fun for the latter part of their life, because there are 3 levels of service in your soul in a lifetime. You have a level of service as a child. There's something that goes on there. You have a level of service in your middle age. There's something that goes on there. And you have a level of service at your senior age, where there's something that goes on there. And we're not going to elaborate further, but we are going to say that at some point, this one will want to do a seminar about that because she finds it fascinating. And she has studied the life cycles. The healing art Jinshin Jitsu talks about the organ flows and the energy moving through the organ flows through different stages of ages through the life cycle. She thought that was fascinating. And so she wants to look at this a little bit more. And so sometimes what's going to happen going forward, her earlier questioning was really deep in spiritual anatomy. And so she brought forward a lot of stuff she needed to learn. It was pretty far out and not understandable. But her new work and what's coming in now is going to be questions that are universal. And so she's going to be able to ask us now, I'd like to do a seminar on this. This is what I know. Would you fill in what you know from the other side of the veil? And I'm going to mine the Akash and get even more info to see what I can get. And would you mind mining the time capsule? Can I get anything out of there for about that? And there's going to be a different kind of paradigm that's going to start evolving with the ability to get information and what you want to look at. Because there are, at the Great Shift, approximately 15 to 16 subjects that you can bring in information with that you don't know about. And we're just saying that as a shout out to some people who can mine their Akash. They might want to go look at that and move that into your work. And that's what we have to say about that. Okay. So I know a lot of you are going, well, how do you mine your Akash? How do you do all this? I want to learn this. Where do you do this? Patience, because that system is also getting upgraded. And this one has already asked, can she do the seminar for that? And she will, because she loves working with this aspect. And she's talked about it before. Your soul comes in and splits into the eye consciousness awareness, into your body innate awareness, and your Akashic innate awareness. She loves that work. And she wants to do the upgrades with that, to work with her body innate and Akashic innate at a higher level, because they can do healing work with you. And that's all we're going to say about that. And that is a course that will come forward, but it can't come forward till after 2027 January. Certain things have to be put in place. Okay. So that is why the Creator allows suffering, but we also want you to know it's a temporary, well, millions of years temporary planetary system that serves a purpose up until you get to another level of evolution in another renaissance where you change off that completely. But you're already building into the benevolent paradigm and the Christ into the benevolent paradigm into the end-of-life incarnation, Bardo, where 17 energies interface is being upgraded. And that's going to affect a lot going forward. So evolution requires time. It requires sometimes assimilating new connections and new upgrades and working with them as souls for a while, and then other things come. So you are creating together as a group of people on the planet, which is why we wanted to give you this great big picture that eventually you are all united as one soul group and you work your planetary energy together, united, as an evolutionary picture for billions of years in the future of how the paradigm is designed. Because it's beautiful, magnificent, and you grow and you learn and you evolve. And this is volunteer work, believe it or not, to come in here and come into this human form. Not everyone gets into this planetary system. It's a special and unique one, as other channelers have said. So as far as this one is, we try to be practical and give you some tools too, but sometimes there's people that are on the far out paradigms that work at those levels and they need to hear it. So we give far out information, we give practical information, and we try to give a bridge of information in between that makes sense for everyone. And that's the way this paradigm with us and her are going. Peace be with you. You are dearly loved. Expect benevolence in all you do, and we bid you adieu. All right. This is Dr. Wendy Rowley. This ends and concludes episode 8 of the How to Work with Your Spirit Guides. Obviously, in the new energy with these new connections. I like it. It's at night. It's pure intention. And you just give sleep suggestions for this new enhancement that we got should you have listened to this entire series. My series are designed to be listened to like reading a book because they build. There might be activations that build or energy that builds on it, explanations build on it, and it makes a lot more sense should you want to do that. If not, there are people that do those little quick sound bites, and you can get info that way. A lot of kinds of people bringing forward spiritual information for all the different consciousnesses going on now. So there's something for everyone at the Great Shift. Okay, peace be with you, and I'll see you in the next episode.